A second and thank you guys so much that have signed up for the throtlVIP platform. We appreciate the support. And I want to say, if you've checked it out in the past and you didn't sign up, go check it out again. We just launched a new app, and we also are sending new merch boxes with all new items inside. If you haven't seen what they are already, you can see it all on the website, so go check it out. And I want to say a huge thank you to everyone that's been supporting us, the growth of our channel, the growth of our part sales, the growth of the site in general. It's just been crazy through the COVID stuff, and we appreciate it, guys. Thank you so much. What's up, and welcome back to the Throttle channel. I'm Mickey Andrade, and I'm going to be your host today. We're going to be jumping back on the Throtl 350Z, which is actually getting Tesla converted. If you haven't seen our previous videos, we've already started by putting a Tesla drivetrain in the car, having custom battery boxes made and fabbing those into the chassis in the front and the rear. We've also added a Liberty Walk 370Z face conversion wide body kit. So today, I'm going to be unboxing some parts that we got for the car. We're going to be addressing the cooling system on this Model Z, as we're calling it, and then also tear into a couple other bits that we're going to be using to keep this thing cool. We have to cool the batteries, and we have to cool the motor.
Cool, no doubt.
This big contraption up here. So it requires a couple different radiators, and I'll explain that to you guys in a minute after I unbox all this great stuff. Have a stock Nissan 350Z Mishimoto radiator replacement here with fan shroud, and also a 36-row Honda Civic radiator fan and shroud with radiator here as well. The 350Z stock replacement radiator from Mishimoto is going to go in the front of the car in the stock location. So now I can actually blow the front of the car apart, put the radiator in, make sure we've got all the clearances we need. Then I can move on to fabbing up the rear radiator, which is going to go back here, and we'll get into that in a little bit. Alright guys, well, we just went to test fit the Mishimoto radiator and fan shroud. Unfortunately, the fan motors are actually hitting our battery tray or box. So we're not going to be able to run this configuration unless we make some modifications or adjustments, which can be done. Just going to sort of try to figure out how we can make it fit. I'm gonna lop this off, seal the side, cut a little hole here in the course board, and just put our filler right on top of the radiator.
Mickey asked me to weld up this little plug, this little patch for the Mishimoto radiator, because we no longer need the filler neck on here. So Mickey actually already made this panel. Everything looks good. I'm just gonna wipe everything down with acetone one more time, and we'll get to just welding that all the way around. So I wanted to take a quick break from the fabrication stuff to really talk about some of the cooling technology and all of the pieces that are actually involved with this project that you guys usually would never get to see. Now we're gonna do something that we've never done before. We just finished up a Zoom conference call. Mark and Alexi are experts when it comes to cooling technology and coolant. We're so extremely fortunate to have the Peak team on board helping us with this project. Now, you know, it's one thing to install parts on a car, but it's another thing to basically create a cooling system from scratch that was originally designed for internal combustion engines, but creating something for an electric car. So there's a lot more to it, but I really wanted to share some of these clips because I think it was extremely helpful for me to learning about the cooling system of an electric car and everything that's involved with that. And I think you guys will find this very, very helpful and interesting to watch.
You will have very small passages in the battery pack and electronics and in radiators. In most cases, when people fill those applications, they develop a low vacuum environment. You not just fill by gravity. You use like a Venturi tube or some kind of device which is creates small vacuum, and because you have a vacuum, you open the valve and fluid go inside.
That's actually something that we have not looked into that yet, because you're right. Everything is going to be sealed. There's not going to be a fill on the radiator. So we're probably going to have to figure out, we need a bleeder.
You need a bleeder on the highest spot of the total coolant system.
Yep.
Which is mean about when you finish the fill, you need to pressurize and make sure the fluid is go over this bleeder. But the filled lines, because in conventional way, all your radiators and electronics and hoses and pumps are positioned, you don't want to create any air pockets. If you have air pockets in any electronic system, you will create conditions which is you can have shortcuts and something else, and you will lose the battery pack because of no fluid and no heat removed or delivered to the system. Okay. So check what's available. Simple Venturi tube, which is allowed you to create small vacuum before you refill the system. Your vehicle application will be already pre-diluted to 50-50 condition with DI water. And based on what we discussed previously internally, we will highly recommend to use a hybrid organic acid technology product with small amount of silicate, which is allowed you to do very quick repassivation of the surfaces and total coolant system protection for a long period of time. It's the same type of the product, the same type of technology used in major EV vehicle manufacturer today, which is you try to use their components. As a result, we recommend to use something which is the same technology using in the application and be on the safe sides to use this type of fluid for specific application you're using.
Okay, so this is the coolant that we're going to be using in the Tesla Model Z?
Yes, exactly.
And
if you
why
read,
do we use this one?
if you read below European vehicle, it's supposed to be, or below antifreeze coolant, it's supposed to be stated hybrid silicate enhanced organic acid technology. And it's color blue. It's the same technology which is used in Tesla application.
We're looking at what the requirements are for various types of either plug-in hybrid electric vehicle, hybrid, or battery electric vehicles, and coming out with products that are targeted specifically for these applications, and also to communicate to those vehicle owners who very largely associate with what their vehicle is. I'm a Tesla owner. I'm a Volt owner. I'm a Prius owner, and I'm looking for the coolant that is specifically communicated to me on that. In this situation, we're now coming into a marketplace that, as I said, is very quickly emerging. And so we're shifting focus from those which would be traditional internal combustion engine vehicles to these three types of segments.
So yeah, a couple of weeks, I'd like to kind of do another one of these if you guys are available.
Sure. And don't hesitate to reach out if you got questions in the meantime.
Oh yeah, for sure.
No problem.
No, this was very helpful.
You can always send email to Ross and he will reach to each of us and get your right answer.
Awesome. Sweet. Perfect. All
All
right.
right.
All right,
Thank you
guys.
guys so much.
Stay healthy.
Yeah,
Stay
you
healthy.
too.
Mickey, we have
Take care.
more questions for you.
So I hope you guys enjoyed those clips. I know I did. I really learned a lot from that call. So I just want to say thank you to the Peak Auto team for hosting that and for really helping us with this project. Now, one other quick reminder, we'll get back to the video. This Saturday, Mickey and I are hosting a live stream on the Peak Auto YouTube channel. If you have any questions about the Tesla Model Z or questions about us, we look forward to seeing you guys there. We'll put the link in the video description and I'll flash some stuff on the screen right now. So if you want to come hang out with Mickey and I at the shop, we'd appreciate it, and we'll see you guys there on Saturday.
Okay, so the end plates are in, just tacked in place for now. So we've got an end plate there and an end plate there. And now we can actually go ahead and build the tubular bar that's going to run between them to replace the material that we removed. All right, so let's say we need a piece about 32 3/4 inches long. So I'm gonna go ahead and dig in our stack of materials over here. It's basically roll cage tubing, so it's perfect for what we're using it for. All right guys, so 32 and, well, I actually went to 33 on this one just to make sure we have a little bit of extra. So we'll probably buff the pipe back about 1/8 of an inch on each side, get it to fit in there nice and snug. I went ahead and cut out the rest of that floor pan now that our bar is in place here and looking nice and sturdy. But now we have basically a big hole in the floor. And what that's gonna allow us to do is sit our 36 row radiator up in here nicely and use this bar as a mounting point, and then the rear portion as well as a mounting point. Now, I might add some either tube or box steel in there to make mounts off of, but now is the time where I'm gonna figure out how that's all gonna work, and then we'll just improvise from there. All right guys, well, I changed my plan just a little bit. Came over here to the Eastwood fixturing table. So basically I'm using some 1/2 inch steel tubing here that's hollow. These are gonna weld onto that bar that we welded into the car. And then I've got a piece of steel plate at the bottom that's gonna help capture the radiator. Now, once I have this welded in the car, I'll weld some tabs on to the side here, and those will capture the radiator mounts here. And that'll allow us to easily bring the radiator in and out of the car if we need to service it or replace it. Okay, so now that we've got it welded up in there, I think we got enough ground clearance, which is great. What's neat about this steel setup that we have here, we can actually build ducting off of this and close this off so when we flat bottom the car, we can actually guide air directly up into this radiator, and then we can probably even vent it out the back because this is just superficial sheet metal up here. If you look through the third brake light hole or something, you can see the radiator in there, and it does stick down into this exhaust cutout. The nice thing is we're not gonna have exhaust, so this is actually gonna get filled closed, and that will go away. Keep in mind, you guys are probably like, oh, that hangs down really low.
That's what she said.
But if you think about it, it really doesn't, because your exhaust would be hanging down in here anyway. Probably an inch, a half, maybe 2 inches lower than this point anyhow. So I think we're in good shape from a height standpoint. I think we got a nice rake on the radiator so that we can consider airflow through it to maximize that. Yeah, now I just need to make some tabs to fasten it into the cradle. But I do kind of want to be able to service it by pulling it out this way. If I want to do that, I need to make the tabs that mount here and here bolt-on provision so that those can come off. I'm gonna start looking at that and figuring out how to knock that out. I'm gonna reuse a piece of the bigger bracket that I made earlier. I went ahead and marked the center line on it. I'm gonna cut this in half, and that's gonna allow me to make one for each side, and these will bolt in. It's important that we're able to get this out once we put it in. So these two guys will bolt in, and this thing can slide out towards the center of the car, or lift up and slide out in case we have a component next to it. I'm gonna actually use a vacuum cap, rubber vacuum cap on the end of these to isolate them instead of actually using a round rubber isolator. So those will go on there like that. We'll drill a hole this size in the bracket, and then that'll allow this thing some vibration resistance while the car is being driven. All right, well, we just cut these in half, whizzy wheeled them off, and now I've got two small brackets. There's a lot of extra material here. I'm probably gonna have to cut off about 2/3 of the top of this bracket.
A little later.
All right, so I got both brackets whipped up. They're both in place. You can see the one here. And I went ahead and drilled the hole for the nutsert, which I've got prepared and ready to go here. So I'm gonna go ahead and push this in and expand the nutsert in there, and then we can put some Downstar hardware to hold the second one on. And this thing is finally mounted in its final resting place. And there you have it. We're all bolted in, snugged up. Pretty happy with the way those little brackets turned out. All right, so moving on to the front, I went ahead and actually clearanced some of the bracket that Evan and I made early on when we did this project. I removed about 2 inches of bracket on the front of this box because the majority of this weight is being supported here on our subframe. And this is basically just to keep the thing from moving back and forth. We've got plenty of material here. We'll probably toss another weld on the end here. But I wanted to see if by clearancing that, it would allow us the opportunity to fit those fans back in there, and it doesn't. So it's still not enough room. So we're gonna have to go ahead and put a pusher fan on this. So we're gonna go from 2 puller fans that were pulling air through the radiator. We're gonna put a big pusher fan on the front that's gonna push air through it instead. And that will alleviate our clearance issues here. So, not a big deal. Where there's a will, there's a way. We'll make it work. And as you guys saw, Evan went ahead and welded up this already. So I'm gonna go ahead and use the whizzy wheel, clean this up a little bit, and we'll go ahead and toss the front end of the car back together. All right, the radiator's back in the car, and the core support is just held on by a couple of fasteners just to hold it in place. But as you guys can see, the tolerances are pretty tight in here between our battery box and the radiator. The top radiator neck is actually placed really good in a perfect spot. Even though we're cutting that off, we're going to be making a 3/4 inch version of this for our coolant system. And then at the bottom, we also have the factory water fitting is down there, and we're going to be cutting that off and putting a 3/4 inch neck on there as well. So we're going to be changing this radiator out. We're basically just using the core of the radiator. And as you can see, Evan's repair work here turned out pretty good. Looks pretty nice, and it's not super obtrusive, so It doesn't really mess up the flow of everything there, which is pretty cool. In all honesty, once the car is together, you're never going to see any of that because we're building trim panels for all this. So yeah, really happy with the work that we've got done so far. This is a lengthy process, guys. We also have to mount our radiator bottles that are going to hold the coolant for both of these systems, and we're waiting on those. We're actually using Chevy Bolt reservoirs for the coolant, and so I'll need to make up some mounts for those and find a position for those to be mounted. Also, while we have this system going in, we're probably going to need to focus on the air conditioning system as well, because we do want to put air conditioning back in this car. So we need to go ahead and order up a factory 350Z air conditioning condenser and get that thing put in there as well. And then we can actually start buttoning up the front a little more permanently. But for now, we're just gonna toss a couple bolts in it, get it back so it's somewhat together, because it's definitely gonna have to come back apart to do the AC and stuff like that. But getting that in and knowing that it actually fits and will be functional is great. Well, I hope that was a good inside look on how the cooling system is going to lay out. I know we didn't do any of the cooling lines or any of that stuff yet, but getting the actual the radiators in that are going to cool down the coolant is the most difficult part. Sure, one of them goes in the factory location because we have that giant battery tray need to be modified, and then the rear one had to be completely custom built. So now we can actually move our attention over to the water pumps and the reservoir system and all that, and then routing all the lines. So that'll be the next step. This is a big project, but I think I'm starting to see the light at the end of the tunnel. I hope you guys enjoyed this content. We appreciate you tagging along with us as we tackle all these projects that we've got going on here in the shop. I'm juggling them and doing my best to bring you guys the best footage that we can during the COVID-19 stuff. So hopefully you're enjoying it. We love you guys. We'll see you in the next one. Thank you for your subscriptions, all those awesome comments. Make sure you turn those notifications on so you see when the next video comes out. Peace out.